Welcome to the Natural Health Show with one of New England's leading natural health care specialists, Mark Mincola. Call Mark at 781-837-4900 on 95.9 WATD. He's waiting to hear from you.
Welcome home, Natural Health Nation. As always, great to have you on board. We're here to make sure that you're getting a little pulse with natural news. Lord knows there's enough confusion out there these days with regards to medication and news regarding health, etc. But we're glad to be with you and have I think, a very riveting program this evening. A lot of folks, of course, recall Agent Orange. Agent Orange, of course, was a defoliant used in Vietnam, designed to decimate the southeastern Asian jungles so that the enemy couldn't hide behind the brush. Very, very toxic defoliant. But Agent Orange essentially has an ingredient called 2,4-D. 2,4-D is in David. 2,4-D is linked directly to Agent Orange. And if you can believe it, 2,4-D is now appearing at your grocery store, just in case you didn't know. Thought you might be interested to know that Agent Orange is appearing on your corn and on many of your other foods as well. And there is now a disorder that is a growing health-related disorder referred to as AOFD, which is Agent Orange Food Disorder. I'm not making this up. This is for real. It's a horrible story, but it is a fact that AOFD, or Agent Orange Food Disorder, is an ongoing mutation of cells from consuming too much pesticides that have 2,4-D inside them. So these foods that have essentially been genetically modified, and again, CBS News did a poll a mere 2 weeks ago and found that 53% of you all, 53% of America said that they would not purchase genetically modified food if they knew it was genetically modified. Of course, it's not labeled because your government really doesn't give a damn about you. That shouldn't come as a big surprise. You don't pay them like the food industry does, like Monsanto does, like Dow Chemical Industry does. Anyway, it's sad to report that 70% of the foods in your supermarket are genetically modified with substances such as 2,4-D, chemicals such as 2,4-D, which appeared in Agent Orange during the Vietnam War. The toxic defoliant is now appearing in your supermarket. And once again, 53% of you said, hey, if I knew that, I wouldn't touch it. Yet, 70% of your foods are presently unlabeled, even though they are genetically modified. Proposition 37 in the state of California, the great state of California, on the 6th of November will be decided by vote. Proposition 37 says, we are the first state in these great United States that is pressing the issue of labeling your genetically modified food so that we will know about it, because presently we don't. Again, we're in the dark. So California said, hey, let's challenge the reporting, the labeling, so that the consumers of the state of California will know exactly what the heck is in their food. Is it genetically modified? Is 2,4-D in my food in California? That's what Proposition 37 was all about. And as of 2 weeks ago, 67% of the state of California that were polled said indeed they did want and would demand to vote for a favorable vote so that the labeling of genetically modified food would be a law in the state of California. So 67% wanted it mandated. 67% were ready to vote affirmatively. Label our foods. Until Monsanto and Pepsi spent $35 million in advertising to tell everybody in California that if they voted for the labeling of their foods, that it would cost them more money. That's called getting bullied. Because the food industry said, look, that will drop our sales significantly because of the bad press it will get. If we label our Frankenstein food, if we let the state of California know that we are genetically tampering with their foods, well, I mean, 53% have already told CBS News that they wouldn't buy it. So sales would be so damaged, we would have to defer costs by raising those prices. So in 1 week of advertising, of spending $35 million to brainwash and frighten the state of California, Monsanto and Pepsi turned those numbers over from 67% in favor of labeling to only 48%. There is a battle going on out there for your genes. And unfortunately, the bad guys are winning. Hey, we're going to talk about the important ways that you have available to you to save your genetic structures, to prevent disease from happening at a genetic level. There are many things you can do. There are supplements, there are dietary support systems, and it's important for you to know about it because the bad guys are winning. Stay tuned, be right back.
Hi, this is Laura from Good Health. People want to buy what works. It's that simple. When you shop at Good Health, you'll find all natural and 100% organic products that you won't find anywhere else. We're the small guy who offers lots of choices and lots of free parking. We've got everything new this year. Specialty foods, gourmet chocolates, and fair trade coffees, perfect any time of year. This season, try healthy gifts for the special people in your life. Maybe our spa-quality super clean skincare made in the U.S., organic essential oils, or all-natural cosmetics. Take advantage of our amazing selection and experience our passion for sharing what we know with you and your family. See us at goodhealthnaturalfood.com. Then visit Good Health in Quincy or Hanover. Winter is coming, so be sure you're ready. Good Health has all the products you need and the everyday low prices you deserve. So see us online at goodhealthnaturalfood.com or come in and see us today. Thanks for listening.
You know, when most people hear the word allergies, they think only of hay fever-like symptoms associated with airborne pollen, dust, and mold. But did you know that many experts estimate that between 60 and 80 million of us suffer from immune-related food allergies without even knowing it? Furthermore, food allergies often contribute to serious health problems such as autism, irritable bowel syndrome, ADD, headaches, and chronic ear infections. Now, there's an effective way to identify and eliminate both your food allergies and the troubling symptoms that they aggravate. Allotest Medical Labs at foodallergy.com offers a full complement of clinical, environmental, and food allergy testing to help you get to the root of your allergy problems. Allotest also provides you with a comprehensive rotation diet, lifestyle booklet, and a wallet card to help you live food allergy-free and stress-free. Do you wonder if you or your loved ones are among the 60 to 80 million food allergy sufferers in America? If so, log on to Allotest Medical Labs, foodallergy.com. Talk to your doctor about ordering a food allergy test from Allotest Medical Labs today. Foodallergy.com. Make sure the food you're eating isn't what's depleting you.
Now, back to the Natural Health Show, sponsored by Good Health Natural Food, Allotest Medical Labs, Santee Holistic Center, and Healthy Living Magazine.
Alrighty, welcome back. Great to have you on board, and we're talking with you this evening about some very, very important issues that are taking place around you that will have everything to do with what happens from within you. And there's a lot that you can do to offset the negatives, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You know, disease often manifests at a genetic level. There are many different pathways that unfortunately are triggered, and where diseases that are already in our genetic map gets triggered. In other words, you when you're born, you have an entire genome map where your tendencies are clearly clearly looking to express themselves. You know, your grandmothers and grandfathers and on have brought you a map that's representative of your unique gene structure, so that the probability for disease A, B, or C is unique to you and your family system. And unfortunately, there are a lot of things required to maintain and protect ourselves and to stay safe and to keep disease at bay at this genetic level. And by the same token, there's a lot of things that will trigger the misfortune of your negatives genetically. Your disease tendencies will get triggered in many cases by things like, let's see, chemicals. Let's start there. Chemicals like, let's see, Agent Orange. Chemicals such as 2,4-D. It's been clearly laid out for us that a lot of research, really current research, and ongoing research as well, and I say ongoing research because since the Vietnam War, there have been many, many brave heroes who have come home and who have unfortunately been confronted with horrible, horrible disease realities such as cancer, and many of whom were exposed to Agent Orange, which is again the very toxic defoliant used in Vietnam to decimate the jungles, so that the enemy had no place to hide. So as a very powerful chemical agent manufactured by Dow Chemical and Monsanto, it is now being placed in a number of different foods for purposes that are designed to protect the food, if you can believe that, from fungus, to protect the food from molds, etc., etc. So there is an awful lot of reckless abandon when we talk about genetic modification. GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. And of course, there are many being put in our foods. And of course, as we pointed out, 70% of everything on your supermarket shelves is comprised of tampered food that's been tampered with by genetic modification. The Dr. Frankenstein approach to feeding America. Not the kind of thing you want to, feel confident about when you're feeding the kids. But that is kind of business as usual here in the great U.S. of A., because it all comes down to the Benjamins. It always has, and apparently it's still going strong, that whole mentality. But we got a lot of nice people that we want to see if we can't help give good advice to out there in Radio Land, because there's lots that you can do to protect yourself against that kind of shallow thinking. And I might add that business has found bedfellows with politicians all over the land. There's not an unusual mix there either. But the idea is that wherever the money trail goes, those are the doors that somehow find their way to open most readily. So, yes, 53%, according to CBS News poll, 53% of America says we would not purchase foods that have Agent Orange 2,4-D chemistry in them. We would not purchase genetically modified foods that have all this kind of questionable stuff that increases all kinds of risk factors for our genetic explosion, for the explosion of our genes, and for the increasing probability of diseases such as cancer and Parkinson's and on and on. So no, America says, hey, look, we get this. This is toxic stuff. We don't want any part of it. At least 53% say that. Yet 70% of the foods are laced, and 0% are labeled. So it's not like you and I are going to wake up tomorrow morning and that's all going to change. Like the shelves are going to be suddenly stocked with really decent, clean food that hasn't been tampered with. And for those of you who like corn, good luck. They've been protecting your corn, but not protecting you. To them, the corn is worth more than you are. So the Agent Orange protects your corn from being overtaken by weeds. So there are many different reasons why genetic modification is popular in the food industry. None of them are particularly good for your health, but their reasons are certainly predicated on saving profit. So here's the deal: you gotta cover your own bases in terms of protecting yourself, because daddy government isn't looking out for you. They may look like they're looking out for you, and they're good at looking like they look out for you. They're really, really good at that. They got all the spin going on here, making it look like they really care. If they really cared, they'd be labeling your foods. This food is genetically modified. Let me just kind of give you a couple examples of the kind of things that are happening with genetic modification and what the potential risk factors are, and why it's important to at least protect us as consumers with labeling. I had a young man in my office about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and he was severely allergic to peanuts. I mean, severely to the point where he suffered anaphylactic experience after experience and would just barely make it to the ER under many occasions. And he accidentally consumed peanuts on one given occasion, and he didn't live. 18-year-old boy. So the potential for someone to consume a food that is severely toxic for them is it's potentially life-threatening. That's called anaphylaxis. That's a very severe, acute, potentially life-threatening reaction. And many folks have that problem with peanuts, for example. Well, those who are genetically modifying food are doing things like this. They're taking foods like peanuts and bringing them into brown rice to make it taste nuttier. It gives it a nuttier flavor. Or they're taking things like, there's a fish that swims in the northern climes of the Norwegian waters that has for thousands of years adapted itself against freezing to death. So it has a gene that protects it from freezing. They are now using that fish gene in your strawberries to protect them from freezing. This is called Frankensteining your food. Okay? And I'm just giving you a tip of the iceberg because we only have an hour. But they are now working on putting antibiotics in bananas as we speak. Which, look at. I understand that there's a logic behind doing this, and I understand that it's an illogical logic to me, and it may be to you. But I understand people have different opinions and different perspectives. That's all fine. You know what's not fine? What's not fine is you and I don't have the advantage as consumers of labeling, of knowing what food has what in it. So imagine if, like the young boy that I talked about earlier, imagine if somebody you love has a very severe potential for allergenesis with a given food that happens to be genetically spliced into another food. So you're eating rice that has a peanut gene in it to make it taste nuttier. Well and good, but what about if you are very severely allergic to peanuts? And you don't have the advantage of labeling to prevent potential disaster. And furthermore, nobody at the ER will either. So, to me, it's reckless, it's careless, it's dangerous. It's unconscionable. Not the least of which is they're putting 2,4-D linked to Agent Orange in your genetically modified corn. And the number of soldiers who came back, the number of brave soldiers that came back from Vietnam over the years, who have succumbed to cancer long before their time because of Agent Orange exposure, doesn't bode well for any of us who are GMO corn eaters as well. And we now know that there's a new series of reports coming about through the healthcare industry about Agent Orange food disorder, AOFD. AOFD. It's literally now labeled as a food disorder. Agent Orange food disorder. This is like make-believe. I feel like I'm in the land of Oz. I never thought I'd have to appear before you on the radio talking about a condition called Agent Orange food disorder, but here it is. It's an ongoing mutation of human cells from an overconsumption of pesticides regularly consumed. It's an accumulative effect of consuming these toxins over an extended period of time. And it's causing a higher concentrated population explosion of cancer. Now, how much does it take to create the disorder? Who knows? How much have you accumulated? Who knows? How much have you eaten? Well, we're told that the average American consumes 17 pounds of food additives and pesticides a year. 17 pounds is a pretty good hit. But who knows at what point it triggers genetic disaster for your body. Again, I always tell people to think of the way that genetic expression works out regarding disease. You know, on submarines, they have what are called torpedo bays. And they're little doors where the torpedoes are lined up behind those doors. So I say the genetic disease factor is a little bit like having those torpedo bays all lined up with the door closed. They're all ready to fire. So cancer in your body's ready to fire. MS is ready to fire. Heart disease is ready to fire. Rheumatoid arthritis. All those torpedoes are lined up inside your genetic torpedo bays. The only thing they require is to be triggered. They're just waiting there silently in the deep, waiting to be triggered. Now, if you think for 1 minute that toxic chemicals like 2,4-D, linked to Agent Orange, already a proven cancer breeder, if you think for 1 minute that these genetic modifications are not playing a role as we speak in the onset of disease as we know it, you are living in Oz. And I feel like I'm living there too. This is a crazy report, a crazy story, but it's real. We have a lot that we can do about it. We're going to talk about that this evening, but it's so important that we grasp the weight of this issue, because it boils down to a multiplicity of issues, none the least of which is poor labeling. Non-labeling, not poor labeling, non-labeling. We should at least know what's in the food that we're eating. It's unconscionable. Let's grab a call here. Howard in Rockland, welcome to the Natural Health Show.
Hello, Doctor. How are you?
Terrific. How are you?
Good, thank you. Doctor, I was wondering, what about those individuals that might be thinking about moving outside the USA for better nutritional value for their dollars or whatever currency they happen to be side saddle?
Well, it's a great point, and actually the European Union does not allow genetically modified food. So only here in the great United States do we allow the genetic modification of food. So if someone were to move to Spain, France, Italy, etc., you'd find that at least your food would not be genetically modified. To me, we should.
I was thinking, Doctor, how about Southern Hemisphere? Down into New Zealand, Australia.
Yep. No, you're same thing. There is no genetic modification in Australia or New Zealand either, and food is much cleaner there in general.
How about the Southern Hemisphere of South America, Peru, Argentina, Chile? How's that work?
Ditto. In fact, in places like Argentina and Chile and Peru, they're extremely fussy about their meats. In other words, the diethylstilbesterols and a lot of the fattening hormones that are used in the cattle and the beef here in the United States they're not allowed to be used there. In fact, when There's a natural medicine called lyophilized, freeze-dried tissue. In other words, people take things from the health food store like raw liver tablets or raw spleen tablets, kidney tablets. Okay? These are thought to be very powerful agents at supporting our organ structures and have been used therapeutically since the 1930s. And many folks swear by them. They've helped many, many people. Would it be a surprise to know that most of them come from Argentina? Because they're they've got federal laws in Argentina, Chile, and Peru. Their beef, their cattle has to be grass-fed, organically grass-fed. So when we find our vitamin companies are searching out for viable places to purchase safe beef and safe liver tissue and safe kidney tissue and safe lyophilized, freeze-dried, what they're called bioregulators, they look to countries in South America.
Should an American be thinking about, if not moving to that area of the world, finding a way to get product from that part of the world, Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand, South America?
I think Americans need to, number one, I'm going to give you my first tip. It's, over the years we've thought someday we're going to have to be eating organic food. It's not cost effective. We know that. But we all sort of saw it coming that at some point that things were just going to reach this apex of toxicity and that we were going to have to finally bite the bullet and go for organic food. We're there. It's time. These games are just...
Where do we get that, though, Doctor? Where do we get it?
You can go to you can go to Good Health Natural Foods, Whole Foods. You go to your neighborhood health food store that sells produce. Here's the key: you want to read labels, and they're even playing games with labels. Do you know that if something says organic food on the label, it can be 70% organic? But here's the key, though, Howard. If you look for something that is labeled as 100% organic, it has to be 100% organic. So it's time we started looking for produce and products that say 100% organic, period, end of sentence. That is advice number one. That's point number one.
Okay.
So moving out of the country, you know what? Buy some 100% organic. It's a lot cheaper.
Out of the country or in the country?
In the country, and I'm just saying it's a lot cheaper just to go about taking care of business that way.
Okay. Well, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much for calling.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, we are up against break time, and we're going to give you a lot more advice on what you can do to preserve your precious genes. And stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Mark Mincola. Over the past decade, the Natural Health Show has attracted many thousands of avid listeners. I'd like to extend an open invitation to all potential new sponsors to join our Natural Health Show family. If you own a Heart Smart lighter fare or seafood restaurant, a fitness or day spa, or if you're an allied health professional or coach, the Natural Health Show is the perfect place for you to make the direct connection with your demographic target. If you really want to zero in and aim the message of your vision directly at those who want to most know about it, join the Natural Health Show family of sponsors. I promise you'll be glad you did. For information, call Candida at 781-834-2728. That's 781-834-2728. With the burgeoning growth of the Natural Health Show, now's the perfect time to share in that growth together.
Be sure to visit the Cape Cod Health and Fitness Expo in Bourne on October 20th from 10 to 4 at the Upper Cape Regional Technical School for a healthy dose of self-exploration and fun. Attendees learn about ideas and activities for a healthier, happier life. Explore fitness, yoga, readings, healing, jewelry, nutrition, Reiki, massage, essential oils, anti-aging, and so much more. Free admittance to the exhibit hall for the whole family. Highlights include Stay Fit demonstrations, a cooking demo, inspirational workshops, family activities, an exhibitor marketplace, even a blood drive by the American Red Cross, free giveaways, and raffle opportunities. It's the Cape Cod Health and Fitness Expo in Bourne, October 20th from 10 to 4 at the Upper Cape Regional Technical School. Learn more at myhealthylivingmag.com, helping you bring prosperity, health, and balance to your life. Exhibitors, call 781-834-2728. That's 781-834-2728 to get involved, or visit myhealthylivingmag.com. Now, back to the Natural Health Show, Sponsored by Good Health Natural Food, Alites Medical Labs, Santee Holistic Center, and Healthy Living Magazine.
Alrighty, welcome back. Just a couple little tidbits of business here on the, let's see, the 20th, which is actually next Saturday. I will be presenting my all-day Whole Health Healing System intensive. It's an all-day intensive. I'll be teaching the trademarked system, a bioenergetic system of healthcare that I have personally developed over the past 30 years, and I look forward to sharing that. We've had a number of remarkable classes, intensives over the years, and folks have really enjoyed the heck out of that. So I'm going to be teaching the trademarked Whole Health Healing System, as well as my EMT, electromagnetic muscle testing protocol as well, in detail, soup to nuts. And we'll be doing that from 9 to 4 this coming Saturday, which is, again, the 20th of October, at the Red Lion Inn in downtown, in beautiful metropolitan downtown Cohasset. So if you're thinking about doing that, I'll give you a phone number. It's 781-383-3393. That's 781-383-3393. Love to have you there, and it should be a lot of fun. I look forward to a lot of folks signed up, and I look forward to meeting some new people and having that experience next Saturday, the 20th. A number of other goodies, too. On the 26th, which is the following Friday, I'll be teaching, and I'll be lecturing, rather, doing a talk on anti-aging for mind and body. That'll be at Whitman Wellness from 7 to 9, and that's, again, Whitman Wellness, and that's on the 26th of October. That'll be Friday, the 26th. And just a couple more real quick ones here. I'll be doing... I'll be talking at the Theosophical Society, 7:30 on Friday, November 2nd, and doing once again an anti-aging for mind and body talk at 7 o'clock at the Red Lion, again in Cohasset, on the 8th of November. So just a couple dates. Again, interested in finding out more about that stuff, just go to my website. It's all on there. It's maxhealing.com. Just one word, max, maxhealing.com. Check it out. A lot of upcoming events that I think will be quite interesting and fascinating, so check it out. All right, per promise, we said that we were going to start giving you some solutions. We usually like to introduce the problem and educate you about problems, again, that are happening around you, that you may not know about, that influence what's going on within your precious bodies and minds. And we also want to follow up with solutions that are positive and proactive. So we want to give you some ideas about what you can do about the genetic mutational response. Again, there's a lot of genetic expression that is unfortunately exploding. I always remind people, when you think about the genetic mutation assaults, the assaults on your gene system every day, 30,000 hits. Think about that. You know, they're not just trying to make an occasional foray to tear down your immune walls. You know, the disease factors of genetics, the negatives, you know, the Agent Orange in your food, and the genetic modification that you're constantly bombarded with. These are all having a profound effect on your solidarity, on your equilibrium immunologically. And at a genetic level, you take on 30,000, that's right, 30,000 genetic hits every single day. And it only takes one to tip you over. So congratulations for being here so far, because your immune system and your gene structures are really protecting you and hanging in there, and that's what we'd like to continue to have happen. So we're going to give you additional advice. Number one, we already gave Howard, our most recent caller, some pretty good advice in that direction. We want to make sure that you get my message that it is time to spend the extra $1 or $2 on organic, 100% organic foods. If it's not 100% organic, it's not food anymore. Save the money on your insurance, your health care insurance, and on the ER trips. Spend the money on your food. Prevent the disease. Prevent the disaster. And as I've often said, that you know, the whole specter of the idea of having to shift a gear and to go organic is a little overwhelming for a lot of people, especially nowadays with an economy that is just not very user-friendly. And it's quite a climate right now, there's no question about it. But if there's some place that you really want to dedicate those extra dollars to, as lean as you may be economically during this horrible time, it really wants to go toward 100% organic food. It is absolutely, in my opinion, genetically essential, because the genetic stress requires epigenetic change. When I say epigenetic, that means that, we've often said on this program, you can't change your genes. Again, if grandmother and grandfather had heart disease and great-grandfather had heart disease, then it's a heavy probability that you have a leaning in that direction genetically. And genes are pretty fixed. So the concept of changing your genes, you can only change a gene 1/10 of 1% every 250 generations. Forget it. Set in stone it is. But we now know that based on diet, behavior, even emotion, and thoughts, I'm going to say that again, based on diet, behavior, emotion, and thoughts, the way you think, the way you work your mind, that you can alter the expression, the behavior of your genes. You can turn on certain genes and turn off other genes in 7/10 of 1 second. So again, you can only change a gene 1/10 of 1% every 250 generations. Forget that physical stuff. But nutrition, biochemistry, emotion, thoughts, 7/10 of a second, we can change the behavior of your genes. You can turn on certain genes that are positive and have positive expression, protective, defensive expression. And you can also go the other way. So there's an awful lot of mutational response that we are engaged in these days because of the poor quality of diet and many of the environmental factors as well. But epigenetics says that we have the ability to influence our immunity at a genetic level. It says that we have the power to switch on healthy genes, switch off unhealthy genes, based on what we choose, what we do, what we think, what we eat. So number one, organic food. 100% organic food. Don't let them play any labeling games on you. If it says organic, it doesn't mean that it's organic. It can be 70% organic or 30% non, if you want to look at it that way. If it says 100% organic, has to be. And it cannot be genetically modified if it says 100% organic. That is the only protection right now that you have. It's a travesty, but that's the way things work. Monsanto and Pepsi are worth a lot more economically to various political campaigns, etc. Which is why I can't really get enthusiastic about anybody who is a politician. It's kind of like that old lawyer joke. How do you know when a politician's lying? When their mouth is moving. Unfortunately, they're protecting the wrong people. So in order for you to be protected at a genetic level from a lot of these potential exposures, the research is very clear that there's a process called methylation. There's another one called glycosylation, or glycation, if you will. These are different expressions in your metabolic pathways that ultimately translate as healthy or unhealthy. So the way your genes express themselves, the way they're influenced by what you think, what you eat, what you do, ultimately has everything to do with nutrients. So it's been proven that folic acid, vitamin B6, and SAMe, which is S-adenosyl methionine, SAMe, SAM-E, SAMe. So these three in particular, there are 21 nutrients that have been identified as genetic preservers or genetic safety factor agents or genetic support system agents that don't let the negative expressions, don't let those torpedoes go. They don't let the torpedoes release. They protect you at this genetic level. And again, the premise is there's an awful lot going on that isn't protecting you because there's a whole lot of people in places of power that don't want to protect you. It's not worth it. So you got to do the protecting. And B6, vitamin B6 is one of the most important agents that epigenetic research has identified as a protective gene agent, a gene protective agent, I should say. Vitamin B6 is also called pyridoxine hydrochloride, vitamin B6. And the reason it's called pyridoxine hydrochloride is because they do not know how to manufacture or replicate natural vitamin B6. But it's perfectly safe to use, and it doesn't require a whole lot, and you can get it in a B complex pretty easily, or a multivitamin even pretty easily. So folic acid is number 1, vitamin B6 is number 2, and SAMe is number 3. Those are very, very powerful protective agents that can make a big, big difference. So you're going to buy 100% organic food, and you're going to think about those 3 protective agents. I also like people to think in terms of the nature of their diet. So yes, it's great to buy 100% organic produce, but there's some really interesting research, some brand new studies that were published in July of this year in the Journal of Nutrition. And these researchers in this particular study divided people into 3 groups. For 8 weeks, one group ate a diet with 19% of its calories from saturated fats like butter. Another group got 20% of its calories from refined olive oil, which is, of course, a monounsaturated fat. And the third group ate a Mediterranean diet with 21% of its calories from organic extra virgin olive oil. Now, you already know what's going to happen here. This is pretty clearly set up. But they looked at the way that these 3 fats protected against DNA expressions, bad expressions. And they found that there was a significant protective response from the folks who ate the extra virgin olive oil. They furthermore went in and they looked further at the protection that the Mediterranean diet offered. And apparently, because of the olive oil and because of the threat of the standard American diet to produce metabolic syndrome, which is a precursor for heart disease, diabetes, abdominal obesity, etc., that the standard American diet is unfortunately not supportive of genetic protection. What a surprise that is. I was shocked to hear that. You mean ice cream and donuts and coffee and white bread and white pasta? No, those are not going to protect you from this genetic expression that we're talking about. But the Mediterranean diet does influence how your genes behave, just as we were saying a little while ago. So olive oil is one of the key agents that was found to be a very powerful protective agent. So I always suggest that people get a good quality olive oil. There's a lot of different olive oils out there, and a lot of them look good, and yet they're refined somewhat, or they're not quite as supportive as you think that they as you might think that they are. So very important that you get like an organic olive oil that is extra virgin organic olive oil. And the monounsaturated fats are part of where that protection genetically comes from. The epigenetic factors are highly influenced in a positive way by the monounsaturated fat, the organic monounsaturated fat. So the further Mediterranean diet studies point out that your fruits and vegetables, when they're organic, whole grain products, and again, when you can in the summertime, you want to focus on locally grown organic ingredients. Obviously, this time of year is a little tough, but you can still get 100% organic. But clean fruits, vegetables, whole grain products, good fats, and lean proteins, such as poultry that is free range and fish that is not farm raised. We talk about that quite often. As far as the methylation link that we talked about a little while ago, there's other nutrients besides the SAMe and the B6. But the SAMe and B6 are extremely important. Folic acid, extremely important. And B12 is one that I left out. So you could almost say that the way you want to go for genetic protection is to get a really good B complex. I think you could do something like the NOW brand, Now brand. B50 complex will do the job. And again, I think the key there is some folks who have a ravaged nervous system, not that there's too many of you out there, I hope, but in the event that your nerves are frayed and sensitive and you're not a good sleeper and you're not very good at relaxing and your world is kind of topsy-turvy and the stress is kind of getting to you, you probably want to forego just the B complex and take separate isolated B6, folic acid. I would say B6, 100 milligrams twice a day with food. Folic acid or folate, 400 mcgs twice a day. And most importantly of all, the type of B12, which is what I've been working my way up to here. Methyl, methyl, methyl B12, that is the key. Because methylation is the process that protects your nervous system from being ravaged genetically. So the genetic breakdown that leads to the Parkinson's and the MS, which is becoming, and the Alzheimer's, which is becoming more and more and more and more prevalent as part of this genetic abuse that we've been taking, becomes really important to protect your nervous system. And the only nutrient that will do that is methyl B12, methyl. For that, I prefer the Jarrow formulas, Jarrow, Jarrow formulas. Methyl, methyl, methyl B12. And I would say you should start off with 1,000 mcgs once a day. And for those of you who are really ravaged neurologically and are really suffering from a lot of sensitivities and tremors, etc., it is essential that you take 5,000 mcgs of the Jarrow methyl B12. 5,000 once a day. All right, we'll be right back. This is the Natural Health Show, the one and only Natural Health Show heard on WATD 95.9. My name is Mark Mincola, and we will be right back. Stay tuned.
Are you one of the 20 million Americans suffering from neuropathy, shingles, or chronic nerve pain? In the last 3 years, many people have discovered excellent and affordable treatment for diabetic, post-chemotherapy, and other types of neuropathy and chronic pain. Dr. John Hayes, chiropractic physician since 1981 on Route 53 in Norwell, has had such astounding results with his unique neuropathy program that he's now teaching his remarkable system to doctors around the country. His most recent book, entitled Beating Neuropathy, remains a bestseller. In fact, Dr. John Hayes is the world's exclusive educator and trainer for Rebuilder Medical Technologies. Call Dr. Hayes' office 24/7 to schedule a free neuropathy analysis. Call 781-659-7989. That's 781-659-7989. Call now while free neuropathy analysis slots are open.
Now, back to the Natural Health Show, sponsored by Good Health Natural Food, Alites Medical Labs, Santee Holistic Center, and Healthy Living Magazine.
Okie dokie, welcome in, and we've been chatting with you about how to preserve and protect, and we'll just recap real quickly. It's again a sad story to have to report, but indeed our food is very problematic these days. No great surprise, I know, but 70% of our food is genetically modified. There is a new condition that has been labeled as a health-related condition, AOFD, Agent Orange Food Disorder, which is just crazy. The fact that a weapon, something that was designed to be a weapon, 50 years ago, is now being finding its way into our food, and has been actually for a while. And there's a connection, I should say, with the ingredient 2,4-D, the chemical 2,4-D, which is what that linkage is. But 2,4-D is showing up in our foods. And if you want to look at an interesting story, there's an October 13th, Saturday, October 13th story by S.D. Wells that appears in the Natural News. So check that out. The Natural News. And it says, what is AOFD, Agent Orange Food Disorder, and how many Americans have it right now? And it's not a good picture, I'll tell you right now, but it's good that we know about it, because to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And a little bit of knowledge can bring you a lot of power here. So we're talking about the good part of what we can do to prevent disaster that we unfortunately have to contend with. It's a sad story, but true. 70% of our foods are modified with all these potentially genetically modified organisms and agents. And most Americans don't even know that it's in there and would prefer not to use these foods if they did know. So it's a little distorted, but that's the way it is. So what we can do is sort of add 2 and 2 here and realize that these things, when in your system, are going to genetically increase your probability for problems. And that there are ways to genetically protect yourself. And again, we've mentioned some of them. Number 1, you got to start eating organic. We talked also about vitamin B6, 100 milligrams twice a day. We talked about folic acid, 400 mcgs twice a day. Talked about methyl B12, methyl B12, either 1,000 mcgs or 5,000, depending on your nervous system and the needs. Zinc I didn't mention. I did mention SAMe, of course, and SAMe is something that people are becoming more and more familiar with. So SAMe is a great protective agent. We didn't mention inositol, which is a B vitamin. It works with choline, and it's one of the primary agents in lecithin, soy lecithin. Trimethylglycine is another one, TMG, which is a protease. It's a very, very powerful protease. So yes, indeed, folic acid, B12, vitamin B6, zinc, SAMe, inositol, TMG, all really protective agents. And nothing more important than, as we said earlier, eating clean food. If you're going 100% organic, it doesn't matter what they label. You're safe. And right now, that is the only thing you can actually hang your hat on. If you're going 100% organic, you are safe from the games people play. Also, we mentioned, as we try to do from time to time here on the Natural Health Show, that the way your mind and emotions work have everything to do with everything else. I know that we live in a very materially biased, or I should say molecular or biologically biased culture. Our systems of medicine and our basic reality baseline here is all about cells and cellular life. Everything happens at a cellular level. Well, this is living proof that DNA precedes the cell. So we're dipping into areas below the cell here when we talk about DNA. And that's exactly what we're doing here when we talk about emotion, behavior, thoughts, the way your mind works, why positive thinking is so important, why assuming the power of positive thinking is an important part of any kind of good, viable, holistic health plan. Because the energy that you produce from the type of thinking that you engage in really has a great deal to say about what firing of genes is happening. And we fire different genes. We trigger different genes. Again, gene behaviors are being triggered all the time. They're taking messages from you, from what you eat and what you think. So very importante to think positive thoughts and to elevate your game at a consciousness level. Very, very important parts. These are very different times, folks. It's not just about cells and pills. I've said that a lot, and I talked about it a lot last week. So holism, the real deal, the real whole you, is taking on greater dimension these days. The whole world of healthcare, the new book that I'm working on right now that actually will be published by Penguin Books. It'll be released toward the end of the summer. And the book title is Whole Health. Whole Health. But it's really about the whole you, and it's really about all the ways that your mind and your heart, your spirit engage in your day-to-day life. So it's not just about cells anymore. It's about cells, it's about DNA, it's about the entirety of your being. So keep your thoughts positive, keep your food clean, and keep your hopes up at all times, because it all really plays very, very heavily to the way your genes express themselves and what your prospects are for wellness. It all matters. It all really does matter. So if you want to, again, check out that article, it's quite riveting. It's Natural News, The Natural News, and it was in the October 13th, just yesterday, 2012, by S.D. Wells. An interesting article. I also might mention a couple other things. Life Extension has a piece about methylation that I picked up on, and that was at www.lifeextensionvitamins.com, and then you look for METHYL, so that's again lifeextensionvitamins.com, and it's methyl, METHYL, as in methylation. Very good article on methylation. It's entitled Methylation Equals Life. Methylation Equals Life. A review of Methyl Magic, Maximum Health Through Methylation by Craig Cooney. So very interesting stuff. So check it out. And once again, I hope to see plenty of folks out and about. I enjoy that very, very much. And again, I'll be teaching my intensive, the trademarked Whole Health Healing System, and my electromagnetic muscle testing protocol to teach you how to get well and stay well, and to teach you how to preserve and take care of those people you love the most, and will provide you with great, great insights and skills at doing that very thing. We will cover everything imaginable about my theories about nutrition and bioenergetics and all the finer points in between. So we'll be doing that this coming Saturday. That's October 20th at the Red Lion Inn Restaurant, Red Lion Inn and Restaurant in downtown Cohasset, Mass. And that'll be from 9 to 4. Anybody interested in checking that out? 781-383-3393. And check out the website, because all that data is on there and a lot of other goodies are on there. That's maxhealing.com. One word, maxhealing.com. Check it out. Hey, so great to have you on board here each and every Sunday. Love visiting with you and perking up your Sunday night. Thanks to Tim McKinney for doing a great job behind the board, per usual. And thanks to Ed Perry for making this thing happen. And this is Mark Mancola wishing you all a great, healthy, happy week. And remember, be wise, be aware, be well. Make it a healthy week.